this family came in after our Black Lives, or just right before our Black Lives Matter march, and went on the march. And Michelle's new, and she says that the reason she loves this place is because it's one-stop shopping. She can get everything she needs, both for herself and for her kids here. Why do you come to UCS and not anywhere else? It's a community for my whole identity that can grow and change with me over time. Huge. So then, Madam is our millennial attending as an individual. Again, we talked to different people, but these were the people we put up on the screen. Why do you need or desire, what do you need or desire from UCS? A combination of what I saw myself in the present and what I need to be in the future. Again, this sense of evolving over time and a community that will be there over time. Some of these things are beautiful. I just want to say, I am new to the area and needed a community. I was brought up nominally Hindu, where community is through family. However, I like the idea of the structure of congregational community, that it was a spiritual community that mirrored my American experience of a blend of Hinduism and Christianity. What got me through the door the first time was seeing my values in line with the people. So this is what, in terms of what Dennis is saying about brand, it's that the people that are communicating who they are, and you walk in the door and you actually experience what they say they are. That's the promise. Then the feeling of being welcomed by the people there. I'm surprised by how much I appreciate the sermons and meditation. Both are something I don't have in my daily life. And he is looking to the family, seeing a family in my future and wanting to lay that foundation. Why do you come to UCS and not anywhere else? He said other purpose-built groups don't carry over to the other parts of his life. And then at UCS, I trust enough in the shared foundation of values that allows us to embrace our diversity. This kind of diversity is what's needed for personal growth. We have an intrinsic reason to exist that is removed from time and place. I know, I'm gonna get them up for sermons. We're gonna switch, yeah.
Because I have a passage to read and I don't want to be moving the microphone back and forth. So our facilitator introduced us to 3 directional approaches for naming and branding, with examples of each. And she's a professional in the field, and so these are trends that they're seeing, and we're going to show you examples of each one. So the first is classic, and an example of that would be the Unitarian Universalist congregation at Montclair, right? It has the denomination there, it has the location, and it has the word congregation. The second takes a different approach, and that's using the name as a verb as the name, right? So a real action-oriented name, word like ignite or blaze, right? And then the third approach is metaphorical. So within our congregation, within our denomination, we see that in words like spirit rock and wellspring. Locally here, think of like the Renaissance Church down the street, right? And even liquid. Although I had a hard time figuring out what the metaphor was for liquid. Then I realized they don't really have a building, right? They just go to places and hold a conversation. So I guess that's a metaphor for fluidity, right? So as a group, we brainstormed possible names within each category. So here's what we did. So here's our proof. We have poster boards, we have scribbles, we have stars, and we have circles. And we also have a recommendation for you today. We arrived at a name that we feel reflects both who we are and what we hope to be. Our promise to those who enter here, as Emily asked, all of our groups. It represents our place in the world now, while capturing and honoring our history and summit and within the larger UU denomination. We heard that loud and clear in the survey results, that people were really proud of the Unitarian Universalist heritage, and also felt that Summit really we had equity in the word Summit, right? That it's practical, right? And it's also, we have been here since 1913, and within the denomination we are known as Summit, right? So we wanted to keep that. I'm happy to say this name was presented to the Board of Trustees to enthusiastic response, and many of them are here today, and they're nodding and winking at me. So and then lastly, I think most importantly, it answers this question. What draws you to this place? Do you seek welcome or hope, inspiration or comfort? This place gives us shelter from the storm and strength to go back out into the world. This place provides a path forward. When we feel lost, we come to this place and find hands to hold, words to sing, and the warmth of understanding. Reflections, meditations, and inspirations to fill us up, to inspire others, to lead by example, to be a shining reflection of this community out in the world. So our name is Beacon, the Unitarian Universalist Congregation at Summit.
So Beacon, it has both a vision to cast forward and roots to ground us in our history. Once more, the words of H.G. Wenzel. Keepers of the dream will come again and again from what humble places we do not know, to struggle against the crushing odds, leaving behind no worldly kingdom, but only a gleam in the dark hills to show how high we might climb. Already there have been many such women and men whose names we do not know, but whose words and deeds still light the path for us. The beacon that they put up in the hills, the roots that give us wings, the climb. So beacon is a symbol of both refuge and compassion in the midst of fear. When you think out of a beacon, it signals, right? It's a signal of safety, it's a guiding light. When the Sharps asked an Austrian artist, Hans Deutsch, to create a symbol to be used to help refugees from Germany, Jews, and others who were escaping Nazi persecution, they chose the chalice, which is a beacon. The founding press of Unitarian Universalism, which continues to put forth our message out in the world, they chose Beacon Press because of the important history of the word beacon, the theological importance in our faith. It's core to the experience of Unitarian Universalism, a faith grounded in shining a light of compassion, inclusion, and love out into the world. It also has historical significance, as Jean instructed us as we were looking at names. During the American Revolution, the beacon on the hill and summit was part of the Patriots' communication, right? So fires would be kindled here, a torch, if you would, a beacon would be raised to signal for those in the hills ahead. By utilizing Beacon, we affirm our congregation's commitment to radical inclusion, to feeding the spirit, and to healing the world. When we say Beacon, we think of some hallmarks to our mission, our core identity, the promise that we are making at this moment as a gathered congregation, to provide refuge, to illuminate the mind, to cultivate courage, to shine a light into a weary world, and kindle the passion for justice and compassion for one another, to guide our people of all ages and life stages in the discovery of their path.
So the name task force considered, I'm going to stop a second. Thank you, Ralph. That was beautiful. Now I'm going to give a little bit more like rational rationale. I mean, we just had all this beautiful words and imagery. I know that sounded funny. We saw two paths, that we could choose a safe classical approach that preserves our identity as a historic religious institution with strong ties to the UUA, or we could go bold and metaphorical, right? That might lend inspiration to those seekers who are not really looking for an institution, right? Those unaffiliated, those nuns that Emily told us about. We feel that this new name, Beacon, the Unitarian Universalist Congregation at Summit, gives us the best of both. And also, as we move forward, we wanted to aim higher. We wanted to go beyond just changing church to congregation and calling it done. We wanted to take a stand for where we want to go. And that was the rationale. So now, as Dennis said, we're going to be entering into a period of listening and discussion. You are the first group to hear this name today. Thank you very much for coming out and for that round of applause. That means a lot. We have a whole series of conversations coming up tomorrow morning. There will be a letter sent out to the congregation with this name. So we wanted you to hear it first, and then we wanted everyone in the congregation to have that opportunity to hear it also. Next Sunday, Robin will be preaching on the language of possibility. We will also have 2 open sessions for the congregation that morning. During the week on the 17th and the 19th, Tuesday and Thursday, there will be 2 other open congregational meetings. Those dates and the link to sign up for them will be in the letter tomorrow, so everyone within the congregation will get this schedule. We're also going to take this online, and there's a couple of dates there, and then we're going to have another session after the second service on the 22nd and 6:30 p.m. on that evening, and I think that is to talk with the youth group and their parents. Am I correct?
Yeah, and it's open to everybody.
Open to everybody, but we wanted to get that group also because they're really a core contingent here, and we wanted to speak with them. And that's basically it. Thank you very much. We're going to open up for questions right now.
I just wanted to say one thing about the leaders group. So for those of you who've been here a long time, we used to have something called a leadership council. We don't have that anymore. What we are trying to do here is invite people from standing committees within the congregation. But just the way that we're formatted right now, not all the committees have standing leaders because of the changing times. So we did the best we could with trying to pick various leaders, or actually invite more than. So some people, I just wanted to explain who got in the room and why, and just know that we were trying to do the best we could with the format that we have right now, knowing that it's going to get stronger over the next few months. But questions? Just so people can hear you.
We have the mall at Short Hills. It always sounded to me extremely presumptuous and kind of highfalutin. Why don't we have in Summit instead of at Summit?
Do you want to answer? Either one of you?
I'll start with that. When Montclair named their congregation, they gave a lot of thought to that little participle, at, in, the difference. Thank you. And they wanted to say, they went with at because they felt that it was not limited to only living in Montclair to attend that congregation. So that was and Colette actually had a conversation with their minister there, and there was a lot of thought around that little word. But they arrived at for that reason. That was symbolic of the town as opposed to residents.
I just wanted to say that it is the mall at Short Hills.
It's all at. Yeah.
That's what people assume that's what it is.
But I do think it's a great name. I did just wonder if you gave any thought to the acronym. Would it still be UCS or would it be Bucks or whatever? No, you hadn't thought? It's not going to be Bucks.
No, it's not big bucks. We're trying to get away from the acronym altogether.
Okay.
You mentioned Beacon Press. They talk about Beacon Hill. Is there any conflict, or, I mean, they can't sue us for...
Yeah.
There's
no copyright
or anything.
No.
Beacon Hill.
Yeah.
I'm starting to think about the proposed name and the process of going out with someone who had a lot of involvement with the last time. One additional thing I think this does, in addition to everything that Robin and Laura indicated, is that you leave it as just the Unitarian Universalist Congregation Summit. To quote David Bumbaugh, people will still say they go to church.
Yeah.
And there are people and families that come here that come up with things that are going to the UU, or won't use that word. I think people will gladly adopt this thing and going to the Beacon. I think that solves that as well.
Well, and just. Okay, well, I'll speak. One point that we really wanted to make about that is that there is no policing. So anybody in their house can call it whatever they want. So if you want to say we're going to church, that's fine, right? If you want to say we're going to Beacon or we're going to, so sometimes we feel like we're going to be policing people and we won't.
Just a quick comment. Whatever the name is, it's going to come to mean what we make it mean. It's going to mean what we are. And so we have to make sure that what we do makes it mean what we hope it means.
That's right. This is our promise. Margaret, I got you next.
Thank you. It's, how shall I say it? Hearing the thoughtfulness that went into it really makes me appreciate the outcome even more. I'm excited by it. I do have a question about whether other congregations have chosen a inspirational, metaphorical name. And before I let you answer that, I also want to make a second comment. The importance of what you call yourself, which is really just affirming or confirming what you've been saying for the last 40 minutes or so. And that is, it's my perception, I checked with a few different people, we don't seem to have the data yet, but it's my perception that since we put up the Black Lives Matter banners, more people of color have entered the door. And I think that's an interesting question to pursue. But to me, that confirms that how we talk about ourselves and what we say makes people feel welcome or not. And so, but I am curious about, are there other more inspirational type names?
Well, we do know that we will not be the first Beacon Unitarian Universalist congregation. There are two others that we know of. One in Flagstaff, Arizona, and where was the other one?
Minneapolis.
Minneapolis. Now, we found that after we had come up with Beacon, but we had the same question, are there others? And there are other Unitarian Universalist congregations that use metaphors as well. I can save this all the time. You can do what I did, which is to go on the UUA website and just look up the names of about 1,000 institutions in the United States. And not all, I mean, I would say, again, a rough estimate, about 20% maybe or so have some sort of metaphor. And the vast majority of them do have both Unitarian and Universalist in the name. And the vast majority also have a locator in the name. So this is not radically breaking from some precedent, but it is new for us for sure.
I just want to say that we're sort of cutting edge in UU circles. Can I say that? UU congregations for doing the metaphor. But one of the other points of research that we looked at in terms of naming was what growing congregations were doing. And a lot of growing congregations are moving away from denominational affiliation and the word church. So both of those are in the data, and so they are looking at they are looking at names. I'm trying to remember what it said. Names that talk more about the community or their mission. Those were the two: the community and the mission, and typically one word.
I just wanted to say that I think it's exciting. I think it's inspired and inspiring. And here's the language person talking. I like at because I don't know what a beacon in someplace would be. If we're a beacon, then we're at something.
I just wanted to, I agree with you, and I think you guys put a lot of really good thought into avoiding the semantic confusion around bucks. Some of us remember it was a bit of a hassle years ago when legislative ministry does great work that is Tom Howard and others in the room know, people, we spend more time explaining what does UULMNJ mean than getting into a substantive conversation. So, the point being, there's a Beacon Theater in New York City. There's 2 other Beacon churches, so maybe there's a best practice that'll sort of evolve. And when we tell people about it, and we want to get more people to build a membership, do we say, Beacon Summit or Beacon, I don't know the answer, but it's important maybe this will become evident after a while as you tell people about it and, try to stir up excitement. It's important we use the right words that'll be more effective than others.
Brian, I also just want to say, I think we might grow into that also. Like, I never even thought of the word Beacon Summit till just now, and I'm like, oh, I like that, right? So let's see where that takes it. As Dennis pointed out before, our brand is evolving, and I think like how we use our name and how we grow into it might evolve also.
Yeah, I wanted to say that I really like Beacon, and perhaps it's because I grew up in Boston. And I appreciate all the work that you put into it, and thank God you didn't squish 2 words together like other corporations do, like with a camera. But my question really is, how will the church itself, or the community itself, the congregation itself, refer to itself? Like when you send out a flyer, say Beacon on Walter Avenue, or you say Beacon, the Unitarian Universal Congregation at Summit on Waldron Avenue. Like what is your?
We don't have all the answers right now, but what we do know is that we have a very strong communications committee, and I'm looking at Susan back there and Laura over here. We understand, that's a question that's come up in our conversations as well, similar kind of question. I believe that we will, a strong next step for us will be if we do get 2/3 majority, which is what we'll have to get in order to go forward with this. What does it look like? I think we may be one step removed from having that conversation, but once we do, if we get 2/3 majority, then a very quick next step will be, well, what does it actually look like? We've talked about, we've been trying to hold ourselves back from picturing what it looks like on the sign, or what it looks like on the literature, or what it looks like. We will get there, but these are very good questions and things that we want to make sure that we pay really careful attention to.
Well, and I just want to say, it was, at least for my group, back in June, and I'm going to give Margaret credit for this, it was out of the small group conversations that we heard a lot of people saying, well, it'd be nice to have one word, comma, the UU congregation, that was where we started to get that idea, was out of those small group conversations. So, as Dennis said, it's going to evolve, but it came from all of you in those conversations.
I guess I want to start by saying I'm glad that after 10 or 15 years you guys came around to one of my suggestions. Back in the last but I have three points to make that are quite different. One is simply, as I look at this screen, going forward, just as a matter of imagery, we aren't on the coast, and a fire on top of a hill is a much better visual sign for a beacon than the lighthouse. And the fire goes to the flame of the chalice and so on. So, go back there in the visual symbol. Another issue, one of these technical points, but it's worth keeping in mind. This is a name for a corporation. That's what this church is. It is a corporate body chartered in the state of New Jersey. We also own 2 buildings. One of them has a name on it. Actually, it has more than one name at various places. But it would be an open question to leave the historic name on the front of this building while putting a sign up with a different name out front or over the front door or whatever. So you want to not just take it for granted that we're going to have to go up to the top, top of the front wall and change all the letters. It can be changed, it may not be changed, that's an open question, keep that in mind.
I'll just answer that we actually talked about that, and the plan that we had talked about was just leaving it up for the historical significance.
That's fine, I'm just saying that both paths are open and they should be, when it's presented to the congregation, I think that should be pointed out that that's a separate question from the naming of the corporate body. My final question, however, is more practical, and that is, was any effort made to test market this? Do we know how non-members, people who are not members, would respond to this? Have we, for example, polled recent visitors who haven't come back? I'm just wondering, has there been any effort to see how, does this in fact convey to somebody who isn't here already what we wanted to convey?
Well, so we, as people who work in marketing, that's a really important question to us. The answer is no, we have not done a formal external survey. We did look into that with Kerm's help. We looked into that, and what we found is that it would be prohibitively expensive to do the kind of survey that we think would really be definitive. So, for example, one of the ideas that came up was, could we get the NPR, just a local tri-state, New Jersey, New York, Connecticut list, and just survey that group with the same kinds of questions that we asked in our focus groups. And while we didn't get a price necessarily, it would have been in the tens of thousands of dollars just to do that. So the question is, is it worth doing that, or do we have enough intuitive knowledge amongst ourselves? Do we have enough intuitive knowledge that we've gleaned from the Pew research, which is, while it's not, it's considered secondary research, not primary research, it still is, I think, a good body of insight that we can then glean to apply to our situation. So I do think that question is still open, though, among the task force, and as we go through the next several weeks and months, we can still consider that. Maybe we haven't thought of every possible way to get the outside research, but that's where we arrived. It was just cost prohibitive.
I'm going to go to Leslie and then I'll go to Karen.
Just quickly, instead of surveying people who visited and haven't come back, we could also just survey people who are coming very recently to see whether the name had any impact on them.
What's interesting about that is that what we found, because we've been going out to like fairs like the Pride Festival, is that just anecdotally we had, well, I wouldn't come because you're a church, because we were passing out material that had our name on it. So it's almost like you want to target people who wouldn't walk through our door because we were a church before. It's a little bit challenging, but we're going to talk about it.
So my question was about Unitarian Universalists. Is there research by UUA or others on the name recognition of the two words? Because I wonder, some varied opinions about that, about whether that helps us or just adds more confusing words for people to rapidly read.
Do you have an answer?
I just have a statement. So go ahead. If you
I just have a quick answer. I was part of when the UUA did an extensive branding exercise several years ago, bringing in a consultant. And what they found is that we have much better recognition from standing on the side of love than we do in the name Unitarian Universalism. So at the present moment, from a branding perspective, that name, at least in the United States, is less recognized than the Standing on the Side of Love campaign has been, which is why when they went into the work of creating the new brand for the UUA, they put less emphasis on saying Unitarian Universalist Association of Congregations, which had been the big push for about a decade, and focused more on the UUA and kind of bringing that together with Standing on the Side of Love.
Robin, so my question was about Unitarian versus Universalist.
Oh, I don't know that they studied that. I I don't remember that in the data that we looked at, so I don't.
I will say that it was important in the surveys, correct me if I'm wrong, but it was important in the surveys of this congregation that people felt tied to both. Do you
Yeah,
want
I was just gonna say that also, that in the free-form responses, we kept saying, we kept singing "and Universalist," and Julia, you're raising your hand.
Karen, do you want to pass it back to Julia? Oh, sorry, Craig, yep, sorry.
Yeah.
Yep. Pass it, sorry, Heather. Pass it to Craig, and I'll go back to Julia.
I just have a brief comment.
It's on.
It's on. A brief comment with Margaret's help. If you were to say Beacon Congregation at Summit, you pretty much have to say the Beacon Congregation at Summit. It's my experience that trying to explain Unitarian Universalist to people who ask where I go on Sunday mornings. It is a mouthful and usually exceeds the attention span of the person asking me the question.
Well, I also want to congratulate you. I know how much pain this is to go through this process. I love the word Beacon. I think it's truly inspired. But I was kind of reflecting on what Karen and Craig and everybody was saying, and it just occurred to me that instead of saying Unitarian Universalist, why couldn't we say a liberal religious congregation or something like that, but more accurately, I think. I mean, this is our heritage, surely, but going forward, are we moving more away from our Christian roots and into just a general liberal religious community?
I just want to add one thing. I just want to reply to that, Julia. We heard in the survey loud and clear about how much pride people have in our Unitarian Universalist roots. I mean, I think it was after the PBS special on the Sharps this past fall, and that got mentioned in the survey results. So I think we would think long and hard before just leaving that out. And so, but to the point of it is, a liberal religious community. I mean, how do we get that clear? I think that's probably in our words and actions, right? Thank you.
So Kate had a question, and I'll go to Don.
Thanks. The one-word name, I think, is a really, really, really hard thing to do, and I think that this one kind of nails it with who we are, so congratulations for that. My one concern with it is that, and I'm guilty of this myself, but when I've heard one-word names of other congregations that kind of feel like maybe they're not real places, a little new agey, and I feel like there are a lot of people around that don't really get what we are, who we are anyway, and don't really think we're a real thing to begin with. So does anybody have that concern as well, that calling us a word is going to